Right. Welcome to Two Beers and a Podcast with Brad and Mike. Two marketing guys with a love of great craft beer and the stories that go with them. I'm Brad Ruhoff, the word guy.
And I'm Mike Rattay, the visual guy. And this show is all about the experience of beer, from the label to the glass, from the brew house to the bar. Each week we feature two beers that we feel have something to say or that we think worth saying something about.
Yeah, this week we're looking at Illuminated Brew Works from Chicago, Illinois. And we're sitting down with two
Brian
guys right now.
And Mark.
Yes. So let's we need to talk about get a beer going, and then we need to hear specifically what each of you guys do.
Okay, sure.
So which beer are we doing first?
Do the fruit slave.
First? Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about Fruit Slave.
Fruit slave. Well, so this is a double dry hop, double IPA. The hazy style of IPAs that people
You can have the rest.
seem to like these days. This is a couple years old, I think. We brewed it first time in 2017. But it's, I guess I can read the can. Matahueca is a big, Matahueca Citra, and then Mandarina Bavaria, and I think there's also a little Pacifica in there. So it's a nice kind of like fruit bouquet to it. Citrus forward. It's a fun one.
Cheers. Yeah. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, buddy.
Definitely very hazy, orange juice looking kind of thing.
Yeah.
Fresh orange juice.
Yeah. Can't see anything.
Yeah, this guy has been. This is the third iteration of this label. So the original, which maybe we can get a shot of later.
Yeah.
Was meant to, like, the whole kind of conceit of the thing was to kind of be a parody on the fruit stripe gum, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's like a rant on here that kind of is poking fun at that, and poking fun at and it's big gum, big corporate gum. So we did that, and then it turns out that the company that makes Fruit Stripe is in Aurora or Oak Brook, yeah. Oh. And so they sent us a cease and desist pretty quickly. They were very friendly about it, but they were very
to
firm.
be fair, it was a blatant rip off.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't really trying to hide it. So
No, we were trying to. Yeah, we were trying to do it like
clearly
mock-up
their
on it.
design put on
So
this can.
So they sent us a letter and kind of gave us very clear indications of what we were doing wrong. And so then, and unfortunately, we had just bottled like another batch of it like the morning before we got the cease and desist. So we had to hurry up and do another like different label that didn't hit the check marks of like where we were impinging on their copyright. So we did that one, just kind of hold us over. And then when we did the 16-ounce release earlier this year, we did a new version of the can where we changed. So the first one, obviously, it had the zebra, but we took the zebra stripes off because,
Just bare minimum.
Yeah. So we changed this one to the goat, and then the color scheme, the color palette's different, and then the font is kind of similar, except their issue with the font was that it was canted, like the original was canted, and so we straightened it out and we changed this to a square from a circle. So
it was like a pill shape.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So we made sure that it wasn't that it was going to be something that they wouldn't be upset about anymore.
Different enough.
Yeah,
So we haven't heard from them since, so that's good.
They must be happy.
Right.
The second one definitely would have shook them off our trail because the second version was pretty far from the
Far afield.
we can show you.
But yeah, some people make the mistake of thinking that like we tried to make a beer that tasted like the fruit stripe gum, and it's like it was kind of missing the whole point of the parody of it, of the satire. But it's more kind of poking fun at marketing in general, really.
Right.
I mean, like if you want, I can read this if you want to hear this thing. It's kind
Sure.
of, okay. So he says, there wasn't fruit in the gum you chewed as a kid, right? It was an illusion, a trick played on your impressionable mind by bad-intentioned scientists, bankrolled by fat cat macro gum corporations, exploiting your enthusiasm for big, juicy flavors. Well, there's no damn fruit in this beer either. Just an incredibly wasteful amount of Matahueca, Citra, and Mandarina Bavaria hops to make you believe it's full of tropical delights. Drinking this will have you in our lovable grip, another fruit slave powerless to your juicy needs. So we try to. So it wasn't ever trying to taste like fruit stripe, but we try to we try to kind of take the idea of branding and marketing and stuff and invert it on itself and kind of have fun with it that way. We've got another beer called Brainwash that's kind of playing again with the idea of what advertising is. Mm-hmm. The tools that it tries to leverage in order to get people excited about a product, to try to tie their pleasure centers to a product. Mm-hmm. So we're always kind of having fun with that. So this was a good example of that.
That's interesting. So when I was reading the label earlier, and I saw that it was using hops to simulate fruit. I would say, like, visually, I was like wondering, like, was it going to taste like sweet like gum? Because it's not necessarily what I'm going for. Right. Once I drank it though, and it's like pleasantly, like, it's fruity, but it's not like sweet.
It's still a beer.
Yeah. Right. And then you kind of go, okay, I see what they're saying. It's just, yeah.
You wouldn't want it to taste like fruit slave anyways, because the flavor goes away in like 5 seconds.
Right.
It just spoils after just oxidizes it. Okay.
It is a good. I do love that gum.
I have a lot. First 5 seconds. It's like, oh man, I gotta get another fresh piece.
I do have a lot of good memories tied to that gum.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make an homage to that era.
Well, playing with iconic images, I mean, all of us have clearly had an experience with the gum.
Exactly.
So I didn't realize they were Illinois-based.
Yeah,
so
me neither. Yep.
I imagine like they're having a meeting and someone walked into like the boardroom with the bottle of this. Like, do you guys know about this? So like, better get the lawyer on the phone.
Right. They've been waiting for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So we made that many bottles of it or cans of it.
I can't remember how many we had done at that point. We do smaller batch runs. We usually do about 50 at that time. Now we're doing like 100-barrel runs, but at that time we were doing like 15-barrel runs in the 750 milliliter bottles. And I think we had done probably 2 batches at that time. So that's like, it's like 900 gallons, or like, I guess think about it in like terms of units. I think it was like, oh boy, math. A couple thousand units, I think, so it wasn't a ton.
But enough that...
It was enough that they've learned about it, yeah. So
you're like, yes, we're getting out there.
Yeah. Well, no, for real. I mean, that really did, in many ways, kind of change our situation. Yeah, I mean, it really kind of put us on a certain map, a certain kind of visibility that we didn't have prior to that. Which was not intended when we made it. It was actually like this whole thing came about because we were gonna. Is that true? I guess we were. Oh, I know. So we were gonna call it Fruit Stripe because I wanted to do the parody of the Fruit Stripe, but then like we were about to go to print with it, and Wally, our sales guy, was like, "Well, people are gonna be upset that there's no fruit in there." Like, okay. Well, I'm gonna write something that just makes it super clear that there's no fruit in there. So that's kind of where we drove with making the goat have his little rant about big gum, big corporate fat cats, macro gum monsters.
Which they were actually really nice.
They were. Yeah, the lawyer was actually a real nice guy.
Very, very nice.
And he actually, I think he represents some other brewery in Minnesota that had done some knockoff on a Budweiser can. So he's like, I'm familiar with this. You just can't do it.
Let's just tamp it down a little.
And he offered to send a bunch of gum. He never did send the gum, though, unfortunately. Never got the gum. But
send him a letter.
Yeah.
Send a 4-pack of the new stuff and say, hey, we never got our gum.
Yeah. I'd really just like stay out of their consciousness.
Yeah, I think
give this a bad one to be talking about. So this is the third iteration of the labeling.
Yep.
Same iteration of the beer, or did that change through?
I mean, you always kind of tweak them and change them a little bit every time, or not every time, but certainly, I mean, I think there was probably, 3 or 4 tweaks to the recipe. First trying to get the flavor profile that you want, and then you kind of, once you get it dialed in, you try to figure out the best way to kind of recreate it again and again, right? But it's pretty similar to what the original thing was. There's another with this style. Like, there's definitely like different things that we've learned in order to make sure that you keep this hazy thing, because people are very serious about the haze. and they'll get upset if you if they buy what they assume is a hazy beer and it shows up without haze, which is crazy because like, you know, when we got into this crazy industry just a few years earlier, like people would be crazy if it wasn't clear.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of your beers were hazy.
Yeah, like we were hazy before it was a thing.
Yeah, it's hard to get it clear, man. I don't know.
So
That's right.
So then, so we had to do there's some tricks. I mean, that's one of the fun things about making this style of beer, is it really is, it's a totally different style of production. It's pretty radically different than what traditionally beer is made. You know, there's no hops that are, we don't do any hops on the hot side. So traditionally, if you're making a beer, I mean, real quick and dirty, 30,000 feet is like, you know, you're going to do you're going to boil your wort, and then you're going to add in, you know, like 30 minutes or 20 minutes, you're going to add in your bittering hops, and then 10, 15 minutes, you're going to add in flavor hops, and then towards the end, you get your aroma hops. But because of the way that the hops are not isomerized, you have to use a lot more in order to get that kind of juiciness instead of the bitterness. So you do them all, like we do them all at either at flame out, we'll do a flame out, and then we'll recirculate and drop it down to like 175 degrees, and then add a bunch more. And that gets the most kind of gentle release of the oils. So it's totally, you know, that's completely anathema to how beer was made prior to that, you know. And then there's some tricks that you do with fermentation, and also with secondary hops.
Still going.
Okay. That makes it fun. Like from a technical perspective, it makes it fun, you know, and challenging.
So there's no bittering in this?
No bittering hops. Yeah, no. So like, I think this one is, we do like maybe 1.5 pounds per barrel at flame out, and then we do I think a little bit more of that at 175. And there's other ones that we don't even do the flame out. We'll just do the 175 edition of the hazies of the, and that's how you kind of keep it from you know, extracting the more of the bitter compounds.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So take us back to how this thing all started.
This thing be illuminated?
Yeah.
Boy. I mean, it was a long time in the works. It was me and my buddy and business partner now, Matt Shirley. We used to do. I mean, we've all known each other, like all the core people. So Mark does all the design for us, and Matt does the business, and then I do the beer and some of the marketing stuff. And then Jason is the third guy, and he does like all facility stuff, does fabrication. He built out the brew house and that kind of thing. So with the exception of Jason we met in like maybe 2012, I think. But other than that, everybody that works are the core people that work on Illuminated. We've known each other for a long time, for like 25 years. So Matt and I had done a few projects. We actually did a podcast together years ago, and then as part of that, we like spent a summer like rebuilding this bus to run on veggie oil. Drove across the country, went to a bunch of parties and that kind of thing. So we're always looking for fun projects to do, and usually stuff like the veggie bus really kind of tripped the trigger for us, because it was like there was a lot of manual labor, a lot of fabrication, that kind of stuff. But then there was also a lot of like creative problem solving that had to be done. Yeah. So it kind of just like it served two very big needs, I think, in both of our heads. You know, so there was stuff that was physically engaging, and then there was stuff that was like creatively and mentally engaging. And so like after we finished the bus, we were kind of like looking for the next thing that we could do that would kind of fit into those needs. And that was like 2007, 2008, and then I think we were on a fishing trip, and we're like, we should make beer. So we started doing that at Maddie's kitchen. Maddie runs a catering company, so we started making beer at their kitchen. We could do all grain there because it was a big industrial kitchen. We could make a mess, and pretty quickly, as soon as we started doing it, it was like, yeah, this is amazing. Like, we want to do this a lot more. So we started coming up with the business plans, trying to find one that worked. The earliest one was like we wanted to do basically like a studio space for brewers, right? So you'd have like 3 or 4 all grain systems. People would come in and brew, and then they would put we would pick like the best ones of that month and put it on tap. Then we'd have stuff on tap too. And I think there's somebody that's actually going to start trying to do that here in Logan Square pretty soon. But we maybe they got a different plan. But
was that Beguile? Were they kind
Beguile they were going to do like some kind of crowdsource thing.
I thought they had like
that never happened.
That had a garage where there was like 10 different fermenters or something that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the thing I always heard about the guy where they were gonna do like the CSA stuff, where they were, where you basically order your beer ahead of time and get it the money floated to you, that kind of thing. But these guys I think they're in Logan where they're doing something similar to what we were gonna work on. Where the idea being that like not many people can do all grain beer. A lot of people do extract because it's the city and that kind of thing. So give people the space to do that, have a community build around that. But we could never figure out a way. We pushed that business plan around a dozen different ways. We could never figure out a way to actually make money. Like the studio spaces were like just like there's just a black hole for money. And we couldn't figure out a way to make it generate meaningful revenue. And then we were going to do a brew pub in Oak Park, and then that just kind of got out of hand and not fun at all, so we bagged that, and then we kind of stopped for probably 6 or 8 months. Didn't really talk to each other for a while, and then things kind of just like once we took a break and kind of had a second to breathe and think about like what we liked and why we were doing it in the first place. Then the thing kind of organically came together, and we got turned on to this space. This was a mutual friend of ours owns this building. And then that's when Jay came around. I met Jay. We used to skateboard at Wilson Skate Park. So we kind of started chatting then. And then like once we kind of like stopped trying to go so big and just kind of got back to the elemental parts, that's when it really started to kind of all of a sudden organically grow. And so then we instead of doing like a bigger ambitious project, we tried to do it as slow and small and organic as possible. It's all our money. We didn't take on any investment money initially. We started the place for I think everybody in it was like $30,000. And we got the place licensed and made beer, and we were on tap, next to multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations.
Right.
For about the cost of a Yugo, and then since then we kind of fed the revenues back into that and built it organically, and it's so it's kind of cool. It's all ours, and it's all done very. I mean, you've been in there, right? It's very DIY, right? Yeah. It's we built out the space, we poured the floors, Jay built the brew house. We've got this cool it's called a CoolBot. Actually, it's a cool machine. It's called CoolBot, but it's like basically it overclocks a window unit air conditioner so that you can turn basically anything into a walk-in cooler. So that's kind of a fun little DIY hack that we've got in there. A bunch of stuff like that because we were so strapped for capital, we had to get creative. We had to come up with some DIY alternatives and it's worked out so far.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Food slave.
And what you've got a very well. I guess tell me about the sort of the concept of the brand. The whole the whole cults and occult symbolism, but then also on the one hand there's that element of it, especially it's very present on the website. Then you get to the cans and they're all over the place in some ways, but also a lot of cartoon and playful. There's a lot more playfulness and not necessarily as much direct reference to the occult thing. So what are some of the things that inform your thinking about brand? Yeah, I mean
to be as honest as I think I can be is it's really everything. There's very little conscious consideration of this is what we're gonna do. This is how it needs to be represented. There wasn't a lot of intense brand development at the the boardroom table. It was really just it's always been, you know, kind of what cracks us up is usually the main driver and like what we're into. So I've got a big crush on turn of the century, you know, fraternal organizations, that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. I love the iconography of, you know, the Masons and the Oddfellows and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how that gets pulled in, and you know, then like, you know, stuff like the Brony or kind of cracks us up, you know, like we thought that was hilarious, and you know, like Pazuzu's Pedals, you know, like we thought that was a pretty funny name, and we love The Exorcist, so we got Pazuzu from The Exorcist on there, and like Orange Sunshine is a very famous style of LSD that the Brotherhood of Eternal Love made back in the 60s, and so we thought that was a fun thing to help promote.
Well, there's zombie dust, there's Orange Sunshine.
That's right.
Popularizing drugs.
So yeah, I mean, it's really that's been our driver, is like, you know, again, because we've all been friends for a long time, that like, you know, there's a shorthand there that we have that I don't even think we could explain, you know, but it's mostly all built around like, you know, it's a lot of work, so at least at the end of the day, you know, do something that's funny, you know, do something else.
That's why you see so many beer cans that just look like they're just not very fun. Like, I don't know, if you're gonna make a beer can, it's kind of nice just to have fun with it and make it kind of silly, or, you know, it doesn't have to be silly, but just something that's like expressive of something. You know, like a lot of times, like you see, like every beer is the same. Different beers all have the same layout, or, you know what I mean? It's just like maybe a different color or something like that. I don't know. It's like I know you're like following like brand guides maybe, but sometimes it's like it's kind of, you got so many more liberties you could take with it, right? Like, I don't know, it's way more fun, I think, just to, like, as you can see, ours have a pretty wide variety, but they're pretty fun, I think, and like we enjoy like how they come out, and you know.
Yeah, and that's like, it's interesting to me to see just the different approaches people do take, because yeah, you do see it does seem like when you hit a certain point, I know a local brewery near me, when they started distributing outside a certain region where they knew that they were hitting people that weren't probably familiar with them from going to the tap room, they changed their visual branding to be much more consistent, and they were thinking very much about shelf placement. And that's like a whole, like, there's a logic to that and a theory behind that, I'm sure there's some good marketing numbers. And then you still see people who are just sort of like going like, we want to do what we want to do. I'm thinking of somebody like Pipeworks is very successful. They have a certain kind of visual brand, but it's not like they're not creating billboards with their cans, because there's just too much going on to create that kind of billboard effect. And then also there's all these things that are coming out with now that just are stickers. That don't look like the other cans. It doesn't look like Ninja versus Unicorn. And you're looking at it and you're like, oh, this is a Pipeworks beer. It's like, but like visually, it's very off what you expect. And yeah, I mean, I know the theory on the one hand, and it's interesting to see people like experimenting with
We're
just
probably
like
way
doing
too
what you want
stubborn
to
to
do.
ever follow any kind of strict. I know Brian wouldn't be able to do that. I have a hard time doing it, so that would be really tricky for us.
I guess I do wonder with that, because you are the website too. You're very proud of being DIY, but I'm wondering if you're also, if I understand correctly, are you have your beers being produced at like several locations right now?
Yeah.
To get the capacity.
That's right. Yeah. So we do. Yeah, we've got contract relationship with Great Central, and they do like the hazy stuff, because that's the largest capacity. They're doing like 150 barrel batches a month, and there's just no way that we could do that. And then Motor Row, we do more of the farmhouse stuff, so like Pazuzu and Orange Sunshine. And then Burnt City, we did some work with them last year, and we're picking up with them again here in about a month, where they'll be doing some of the smaller, around like 60 barrel batches. And then we do mostly draft now, and then also some few bottles, like 750s don't really sell in this market anymore, but we do have a distributor out in Seattle that still sells them. So when they want 750s, we'll put that together. We still do, and then we also still do our white stouts and the more experimental stuff in 750s. But unfortunately, we we held on to the 750 format as long as possible, and then it's just like it finally just completely dried up.
Yeah.
But it's a bummer because like for us, for the consumer, it's good, I guess. But like, like you sell 4-pack of 16-ounce beer. That's what, about a half gallon of beer, and we sell that for $13.99. Where we were able to sell a 750 milliliter, which is like around 25 ounces, for about that same price.
It's no wonder why people don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, but the thing is, I mean, like that the bomber format. If that hadn't been around, so like if today was 7 years ago, 6 years ago, you wouldn't have Pipeworks, you wouldn't have what's her name, Spiteful, you wouldn't have us. Beguile the same way. I mean, it was a format that allowed a very low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Where people that didn't have a trust fund, or they didn't have
outside funding,
a couple $1 million running around, or investment funding, and so that's gone now. Now mobile canning can kind of pick up a little bit of that and still keep it accessible, but that will definitely change. Obviously the market's changed in all kinds of ways as it is. The industry's changed all kinds of ways, but the bomber format really has as much as almost anything else to do with why we see so many of these startup breweries that we wouldn't have otherwise. So it's a shame. I think it's kind of a shame that format's gone away. But whatever. Well,
right.
That's life.
Just adapt.
Life in a big city. Yep.
And so, we were talking about this over dinner, actually, just that it is true that the guys went, I think it was Brew Talks I was watching from the CBC back in earlier this year. They were saying something like 6 years ago there were only 1,800 breweries in the country, right? 6 years, and now we're at 7,300.
That's crazy.
And so obviously the market of 6 years ago is different than the market of today. And so the things that worked back then and were what made it work and made it possible for people to get to today might be different, might have changed in some ways. Although I guess it's as a marketer, I think about, like, I know there's certain fundamentals that, like, people go back in time, like, to some of the marketing geniuses of the mid 20th century that they claim don't change. I guess I'm curious if you do you really believe you can be stubborn enough not to start adopting some of the playbook of a larger brewery? Do you think, like, how sustainable is it going to be sort of this DIY?
I mean,
how important is that to you versus...
If you look at the market right now, and there's nothing to say that the market is not going to change, 100 different times before we walk out of the room tonight. But we're in the sweetest position of anybody in the industry. Like, breweries our size, small breweries that can be agile, that can be creative, that can make beers with a lot of hard to allocate ingredients. So breweries that can that can make these big crazy beers, and like the big pastry stouts and the Imperial Berliner Weisses, and the real experimental stuff is what people are going after right now. And big breweries just can't do that. Like they're they kind of came up on this hazy thing like finally like this year, and it's kind of like as that tide is kind of slowing a bit on it, and it's almost like an indication that that's slowing once it kind of hits that crest. A shop our size with very little debt and very very little overhead can stay agile and shift with the market force a lot easier than a giant brewery. And it's just people want local stuff. People want a personal experience, and you can see bigger breweries trying to imitate that and trying to give that feeling of authenticity and trying to be something that they're not, because that's what people want. People want personal access. They want a personal story. They want to have some kind of connection to a thing that any way you slice it, a large national brand can't do. Now, how long that'll last, who knows, But right now, we're very fortunate to be in that position, and other places like us as well. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, we'll see how long we last. I mean, it's just, can we stay stubborn enough to do stuff our own way and
Right.
exist? I don't know. I mean, we're not stupid. We're aware of what happens in the world, but we have pretty firm ideas of what we think works and what doesn't. And
being stubborn's working fine. So
yeah,
far, so.
trusting your gut is
Yeah.
pretty valuable thing to be able to do. And when you don't have a board of directors, when you don't have you don't have too many bosses. Like we're all kind of accountable to each other. So like that keeps communication pretty level and pretty clear and pretty immediate, pretty self-policing, and it keeps everybody on point, and it keeps creativity sharp, and it keeps the bullshit down, and it keeps everybody's got skin in the game, and that I think that all kind of translates into a meaningful end experience for the consumer.
I think we want to have fun with it too. Like it's,
You have to.
Like Brian and I was talking about going to your shitty job. Like,
Yeah.
Like, this is something we want to enjoy. You don't want to do it because it's this chore, right? If it is, then it's probably not. We shouldn't be doing it, right?
Yeah. And usually, anytime it starts to feel like a chore, we start to feel that in the company as an organism. Where it just like, once everybody starts to
eat itself.
Yeah. Once we start, we've had a couple times where people started getting into routines and started getting kind of burned down by it, and you can start to see where the output would be less dynamic. And so then you kind of metabolize that and get re-inspired and then things pick up again.
Yeah. I think arguably the going logic would be something like, well, that would limit you necessarily in terms of how big you can get. But on the other hand, we also know with 7,300 breweries, it's probably true that most breweries aren't going to get that big anyhow.
Right. That's we definitely, everything's got to be so scalable in this world, right? That's everything's built to be scalable, and that's not our interest.
Yeah.
That's not our intent. If we wanted to become a giant, multi-headed international organization, it would be a different product, right?
Taking pages out of the big gun page book.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not a glass ceiling. It's like actually concrete, dude. That's what it is.
But yeah, we're pretty clear. Like we know, and maybe that'll change, and maybe we'll get greedier. But we know what we want. We know what is a place to be satisfied at. Mm-hmm. And so that keeps our aspirations a little bit more manageable. But yeah, maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll want the private island.
Yeah. Well, that's the story of the investment manager that convinces the fisherman to scale up his operation so he can eventually sell and be a fisherman.
Right.
Like that whole
right.
10 stories up, you need an extra boat so you can get more fish, and then you can get more fish so you can eventually just sell it and be a fisherman. It's
right.
Well,
that seems
but
like
I'm a fisherman.
it seems like most new new companies in tech, that's the goal is to build it up fast and then sell it for a massive profit. And
then what do I do?
Go back to doing what you were doing before, anyways.
Which, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like you see more right now, people that are opening breweries or putting money into breweries to be these quick builds and soft acquisitions. If that's what you want, if you want to make money, there's way smarter businesses to go into than this. Where it's saturated market, tons of overhead, tons of opportunity for product to go bad. It's just a few people have gotten very wealthy off it, right? But that is not a good bet, And if that's your interest, then you should probably start a software company. Right?
Make some kind of app, yeah.
Yeah. You ready?
Next beer?
You want to do the brownie?
Yeah.
Brownie.
So these are
Brownie the treadmill.
Yeah. We're going to the gym after this.
That's a good call. So you managed. This is avoiding infringement.
Right. We learned from our mistakes.
what's happening
right?
there?
We learned from our mistakes.
Yeah.
What is it? Only 15% you need to see.
And what's,
I don't know what the rule is. So we tried to play it safe, to be honest with you.
I hear you.
The funniest thing was the printer was like, you're kind of cutting off that pony.
yeah,
dude.
We know exactly what.
Trying not to get sued, so let's just leave it where it is, okay? You want us to nudge that up? No, we're good.
So is this the first iteration of this guy?
So this is this is the
You had it in
second
bottles,
iteration of the label.
Second iteration of this label, yeah.
Yeah, and we can get a shot of the other label too. That's a fun one.
Yeah, that one's real.
And then those are the first time it's in a 60-ounce can. So we did it in 750s prior, and then put this one into 16-ounce cans. This just got released like a week or two ago. And the star, this is another double dry hop, double IPA, hazy kind of situation. The star of this guy is the Rakow hops. It's Rakow and let's see the other guy in there. Yeah, Rakow is really whole melon kind of does a little bit in it too. But the Rakow is kind of like usually described as like all of the orchard. That's how people describe the flavor profile of it. But I found that like with the combination of hops that we did, which is like Citra, Mataweka, Rakow, and whole melon, kind of almost has like some strawberry notes to it, and strawberries and cream, so that's kind of the flavors that I get coming through with this guy, and we've adjusted a little bit. So this is the third beer we've done with Great Central. So Fruit Slave, and then Spoonful of Sugar, and then Brony. And so we, every time you brew in a new system, there's always things that change, and there's always things that like there's no, I think that's something that like these larger, national brands struggle with when they have multiple breweries to try to have a consistent product across them, because every system, even if you had the same manufactured system at two different places, there's going to be variance in those two systems. But when you come from like a shop like ours, and then you go to Great Central, there's difference. There's adjustments that have to be made for those systems. You don't brew the same on each system. Same with Motor Row, same with Burnt City. So this Brony kind of to me is like we finally dialed in exactly what we wanted out of the Great Central system, and got that nice. The level of a balance in the beer that we've been working on each release up to date. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Are you guys able to pilot with that, or is it more like you do the
100-barrel pilot? Yep.
Special release.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. I mean that's always super stressful, right? Especially on the 100-barrel. Like we did Orange Sunshine last year with Burnt City. So I think we did 2 or 3 batches with Burnt City last summer, and the first one was like it was more bitter than we wanted. I was still happy with it, but it was like this isn't the beer that we wanted to make. And so we made adjustments, and then the second time it came out, I was like, okay, this is much better. But yeah, it's super scary because I think that was a 60 or a 90 barrel batch. So that's a lot of beer that if it's way off, you're in trouble.
Right.
You're gonna eat that. So fortunately, we didn't have anything too far afield with the Great Central, but there was always little things that I wanted to dial in, and then with the Brony, I think we finally got it.
Yeah. I'm curious about Orange Sunshine. Would you call it your flagship? Do you have a flagship?
Yeah, it's flagshipy.
Seems like when that. Seems like I'm not sure why I had that in my head. I'm not sure if I saw a press release or something, some story somewhere. But also you on the one hand on your site you describe yourself as an urban farmhouse doing urban farmhouse ales, which obviously already contains an intentional paradox.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You get to like make up styles and stuff. But that's just one kind of thing. But when I actually think about what I recognize you from on the shelves, it does tend to be the double dry hop, double IPAs. Because you do like a ton of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about.
Well, I mean that's a perfect example of being able to adjust to the market. When we started, after we did almost like when we started, I was like, I'm never doing an IPA, no way, because I don't like I hate bitter as a sensation. I think I'm very sensitive to it, and so I always had like just great disdain for that West Coast style of IPA. It has a lot of bitterness to it.
Yeah,
makes me nuts. I can't enjoy it at all. So, and at the same time, we were also very interested in exploring kind of the flavor profiles that you could develop from the yeast and from the the chemistry of making beer. So we did a lot of farmhouses, some wild stuff, and Wally, one of our sales guys, just was always badgering me like, we got to do it. We got to do a hazy. It's gonna blow up. Blah blah blah. And I was adamant against doing it. And then I think 2 or 3 years ago there was an event at Forbidden Root that we got invited to do. And so finally I was like, okay, I'll make one just to see what it's like. And we did it, and I had a real good reception, and then I liked it because one of the earmarks of the hazy style is that there's no bitterness, that it's juicy and much more rounded hop note. So then we made one of those, and it got good reception, got gobbled up off the shelf, and I was like, at that point, you're an idiot if you don't make the thing that people are gobbling up.
Something like this.
Because then we can make that, people buy it, and then we can hopefully kind of turn people on to other styles too. But yeah, so that's a perfect example of like being a small company where you can kind of be agile and be able to be flexible about your core principles. You can sell out a lot faster.
Yeah,
it's easier.
Well, that's good though. Paying attention to the market is like the most important thing.
Yeah,
to stick around. Otherwise, we couldn't have this conversation if it was.
Aside, I guess, like other than like wanting to crack ourselves up and wanting to have fun, the other thing is I never want to go back into an office ever again. I never want to work a crummy job for somebody else ever again in my life. And I'd probably do a lot of terrible things in order to make sure that doesn't happen. awful things. But yeah, it's just really like I never want to go back to an office. Mm-hmm. It's terrible in there.
Yeah.
It's awful in there.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
At all.
So, what are some of the key ways you've been able to reach your audience? And then maybe on the flip side of that, what are some of the struggles you've had?
As far as reaching the audience, everything is, for good or ill, everything's driven by social media, right? That's Wally Wallbanger, he does our Instagram stuff, and he does a great job on Instagram, always doing some funny photos and that kind of thing. And then obviously Facebook and Twitter are good ways to reach out to people. Like we've had people ask us before that aren't in the beer industry, that are in other industries. They're like, well, what's your marketing budget? It's like zero. You've got social media that you can do all of your marketing for free, and a lot of times people will do it for you. So we lean heavily on that. And I guess the only other kind of unique thing that we do as far as marketing is we do the bonfires, right? Mm-hmm. That's been a big one for us. So we do once a month, roughly, in the summertime. We've got this outdoor space, and we do bonfires that are free beer, free music, free food, and basically send out an email to our listserv and say, hey, the first couple hundred people that respond get in for free. And we give them this very unique space that there's nothing else like in the city, Mike. And then the conceit of that is that builds some goodwill that hopefully will express itself in the oppressively overcrowded bottle shop. Mm-hmm. Somebody comes here and has a great time. They go to the bottle shop and they see the Brony on the shelf. And they're like, oh yeah, we partied with those guys. They were a lot of fun, and I had a better time than I'd had for many years in the city. So I'm going to buy this beer. That's the marketing plan.
It's really the only space in the city that you can.
There's nothing else like it. It really is.
Stare at the skyline.
Although
enjoy
now,
fire and
you know,
music.
now that you can't stare at the Sears Tower anymore,
Yeah.
there's another high rise.
Oh,
There's a high rise that built up in the way. It's awful.
I was thinking that last year. I was like, I really hope this lasts, but
Nothing lasts.
the way it was all being built, I was like, this is scary.
Nothing lasts, man. So that's definitely been a driver for us, is like to try to make the most of that space while we have it, you know, because it's not something that can last forever, you know, and so just try to enjoy the hell out of it while we have it, you know.
So that's reaching people. Then what your other half was not? What was it not reaching?
What are the struggles? Yeah, what are the places, the things, the questions you still have about doing more and doing it better?
Like
Just reaching, I guess.
brainwashing people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you always want.
Marketing is storytelling, Brian.
Yeah, that's what you're doing
So that's
there.
the insider talk. That's insider
Advertising
talk.
advertising is brainwash.
Okay.
If it's something people want, you don't have to brainwash them to buy
That's
it, right?
exactly right. That's exactly what a brainwasher would tell you.
Drink.
You're right. Don't try to get them to buy it.
Yeah, that's another technique, right? Yeah, don't touch it.
Right.
Yeah. So how would I like to be able to bend the will of people more to enjoy my beer? That's a good question. You know, it's not. I don't know. I guess the most frustrating thing that I can think of immediately without considering it too long is just like, you know, to me, you know, we've been doing this for 4 years or whatever, and like we're very small, we're self-distributed, you know, and still like I guess this maybe is an unhealthy perspective, but like when we still meet a lot of people that never heard of us, and that makes me nuts. Now I should probably be very excited about that, because then that's another opportunity to make a customer and to impact somebody. But it's frustrating to me, you know, and it's like, you know, we work very hard to try to be out there, but yeah, it's just it's a very, very, very crowded marketplace, right? I mean, very, very crowded, which is exciting. I mean, it is, you know, as you're saying, like 7,300 breweries. Like when we started in, was it 2015? It was like the goal of the Brewers Association. Like, we want to have more breweries than they ever had before Prohibition.
Right.
And that was like around 1,800 or something like that. And then that goal just got pummeled.
Yeah.
Just blew past that, you know. Now it's like 7,300 breweries. That's insane. But it's, you know, so it's exciting to kind of participate in that kind of historic thing. You know, this is literally, I mean, in all kinds of ways, there's never been anything like this before. You know, from a beer consumer perspective, but also from a business perspective, to be able to have, you know, do something like what we've done, what a lot of people have done, to, you know, compete and to participate in a marketplace where some people are spending millions of dollars, you know, and then you can have some guy come along with his little jalopy making beer out of the back of his truck, and you know, he can you know, throw a rock in the face of Goliath. You know, it's kind of super exciting. It's fun to participate in that. But at the same time, that also means, you know, you really got to work hard, which I'm not super into. You know?
Well, on that note, you guys do a bunch of tap takeovers, right? Or you do like a lot of guesting and at bars and restaurants.
Yeah, we do. I mean, that's a popular thing, and it's actually kind of like, I feel like the impact of the tap takeover is even kind of diminished over the years as more and more breweries come out and more people are doing tap takeovers. One thing that we have been very happy with the results with is doing like collaborations with restaurants. I think that's been a great brand builder for us over the years. We've been fortunate, you know, we've known a bunch of people in the service industry for a long time, and so we've been fortunate to have those relationships there that we could you know, cash in on that so we had a need. But we've had you know, we've done collaborations with Publican. It's been great for us. Probably our best one is Parachute Restaurant. They just won the James Beard this year. They're nominated every year that they've been open, but like that was complete serendipity too. Like I live like maybe 1,000 feet away from Parachute, and like they're on the path where I walk my awesome dog, and so like there used to be just this really crummy bakery that was where they were, and me and my wife were walking my dog. This is like 2014 or 2015, and I saw there was some other restaurant going on in there. So I just stuck my head in, and I'm like, "Hey, what is this?" And Johnny Clark, him and Beverly are the chefs there, was just sitting at the table, kind of getting stuff together. And I'm like, "Well, are you going to sell beer?" And he's like, "Yeah, a little bit. It's mostly a restaurant. We sell beer." So talked to him a little bit, and he put me in touch with the beer buyer there. It was Benny Colston, and we wound up we've been the only beer on tap. So there was. For about 3 months before we were licensed, Revolution had a tap line there, and then once we got licensed, they put us as the only beer on tap, and then still are. And then they're opening up a new restaurant next week, and we're the only beer on tap there, And like I had no idea like who they were, and they didn't know who I was either. But I had no idea who they were, and like it could have been anybody, and it turned out to be these like super talented, super generous people that. Want to kind of bring us into their family,
Yeah.
And that's been great. It's been great visibility. We've probably done 4 or 5 different collaborations with them in the 3 or 4 years that we've been working with them. Usually about once a year, we'll do some new collaboration, and give them a beer that's unique to their restaurant and kind of accentuates the flavor profile of their foods, and gives us a chance to eat some awesome food and talk about beer some more,
You just did, so I'm from Evanston. I know you did the Broom with Temperance.
I did, yeah.
Which was good.
Yeah.
Like that one. And did you do one with Sketchbook recently as well?
We did, yeah. We did Resistance Switch, which was a brewed IPA.
Yeah. So with it makes sense with the restaurant in particular too, as a way of getting yourself out there and getting people to know who you are. Is it the same logic for you with the brewery? Just like, well, if they like Temperance and they see my name on the Temperance can.
Yeah, I mean, I think the jury's out on the value of collaborations with other breweries. I love to do them, but it's not. It has very little to do with the actual end product, and that's more has to do with like there's usually somebody at that brewery that we like and we hang out with or whatever.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I mean, it's probably benefits us to have our logo on a Temperance can or on a Sketchbook can, but my feeling about especially beer collaborations in particular is that usually in a lot of the cases, it seems like both the collaborators tend to kind of dial back on their core strengths until it becomes something that's neither one of their strengths, and it's not as exciting. But from like a social or like a personal aspect, it's very it's very beneficial. Usually it involves one brewer stealing secrets from the other brewer, like in a kind way. But yeah, I mean, it's usually about somebody wants to know how to do something, and so that kind of initiates the conversation.
Okay. What are some of the non-hazy-juicy doubles that you're working on that we should be looking for, people should be looking for, that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, Orange Sunshine is like you said, like kind of our flagship. That's a great summer crusher. So it's like a 5.5% saison. It's got orange and lemon zest in it. So it's a real easy drinker, and then it's got a little bit of that citrus both in the nose and in the mouth to kind of drive more and more drinking, so you can have it all day in the sun. What else? We've got Stupid for Jupiter, which is just kind of a more kind of classic but still rounded IPA that we're doing with Motorola later. We've got Logos, which is we got a couple of things. Logos and Tony's Humble Pie, and those are both like sours that have a bunch of fruit in them, which are quite good. Logos is black currant and an acidified beer, and then Tony's Humble Pie is blueberry and cinnamon in a sour. We call it a white stout. Kind of coyly call it a white stout. But that'll be released here, I think, before the end of June. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's what we were talking about, Trevor, with the white stout, right? And Old Irving Brewing the
horchata one they did.
The white,
Yeah, they called the white stout. Yeah.
Okay.
Cinnamon Prost Crunch.
Yes.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. Even he admitted it was like one that you had like a little sample of, and then you're like, okay,
that's enough.
Something else.
Yeah.
I get it. The name matches.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Okay, take a picture.
It's definite cereal beer.
Yeah, and yeah. And are those barrel sours or kettle sours?
Kettle sours, yeah. We've got a few traditional sours and barrels that we do, but our space is so small, we don't have a real intense barrel program. So most of our stuff is kettle sours. Omega Yeast made this great strain of lactobacillus that will sour down to anywhere from 3.4 to 3.6 pH in 24 hours, and it is very easy to kill. So it's kind of what most people are using right now for their kettle sours. So we do those. We've also got some stuff that we're experimenting with, doing like a slightly acidified brut IPA, but with different tea strains that we're working with, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And there's some other tricks up the sleeve for later on that we're kind of developing, which we do mostly out of here. We do the draft stuff to kind of kick the tires and see how people respond, and then if something tracks, then we'll move it to the 16-ounce cans.
Cool. Do you have a roadmap in mind of what growth would look like? Is there a tap room at some point, or a brew pub?
Yeah. I got a hair in my mouth. I don't know where it could have come from.
How that would have happened.
So we're aggressively, with a slight bit of panic, working on getting a tap room open right now.
Okay.
Nice.
So that should be probably before the end of this year. To be licensed and opened.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting.
Nice.
And then the plan has always been to get three retail places open in Illinois, because that's what we can have legally. So we want to get those ones. But we do always try to work kind of organically. So the first one is obviously just a tap room. The second one will be a little bit more developed, and the third one would be full-on brew pub and that kind of thing. And then once we tap out the three in Illinois, then we'll probably go to different states.
Yeah.
We can, but that's always been the interest for it. That's kind of the ironic or the frustrating thing, or the maddening thing, is our business plan when we started this was get a retail space open as quick as possible, because you're an idiot if you try to open up a production brewery. And at that time, very few people had a tap room, very few people, and and now everybody's got a tap room except for us. So we were right. We are an idiot. We are the idiot. So we're just kind of trying to steer the plan back to the original intent, and then make that happen.
Right.
But best laid plans.
Right.
But it's been fruitful. It hasn't been awful. But yeah, I will be much happier when we actually are able to push the beer across the table to our customers and not have to bring in a middleman to do it.
Now there's been several podcasts I've listened to that have addressed, or in some ways at least, the topic of tap rooms. like beer bars and places, other premises like retail premises, feeling threatened by
Oh yeah.
all these tap rooms popping up.
Yeah.
And so some breweries are making overt efforts to cultivate relationships. I'm curious if you've thought about like what does it look like when you open a tap room and with your relationship with Parachute or some of those other retail accounts that have been important for you getting in front of other people. I'm not trying to throw a curveball. Just something you thought about.
No, I mean, Parachute. They don't care what we do. But yeah, I mean, we'll keep selling them beer if they want to buy it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's yeah. I mean, if someone's upset that I'm selling my beer retail direct to the customer, then they don't have to buy my beer. I'm not. I don't know. I don't really know what you're asking, but like.
Well, so Solemn Oath made a beer that they only sold at other on-premise locations, but not in their own tap room.
I mean, I can do that. I don't know. what was their intent with that?
So my understanding of what's happening is it's the feeling is a place like the Hop Leaf or for Solemn Oath that's Bavarian Lodge, I think.
Oh, Bavarian Lodge is great.
These are places that were instrumental in them kind of getting out in the community and getting in front of people. And then when they open the tap room, they don't want the message to be, we want those people to come away from the lodge to us so much as we want to like just create another place for other people to find us. And so we want people to also by giving a beer to Bavarian Lodge, or I think of like Sketchbook does some beers for certain restaurants in town in Evanston. It's just a way of saying like we're not trying to like pull people away from you so much as we just also this is how we also need to survive and like can we
if they want beer you need to be open in order to get something.
Right.
But yeah, I mean we have always done these collaborations for specific places like Parachute. But yeah, I mean I mean if a place feels threatened by us opening up a retail location, I mean they probably got larger problems, we would be one small part of their menu, and I can't imagine that someone would feel threatened by that. Maybe if I opened up next door to them, and then of course we'd try to be good neighbors and
even that you can order in food from them.
Yeah,
so it's not like you can collaborate versus like. Don't go Parachutes. I don't want to say that. Right. Like where you're knocking anyone that you're trying to collaborate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I understand that definitely the bar industry is struggling, because people don't like to go to bars as much anymore, and that's terrible, But I don't, there's not, as a business owner, there's little that I can do, to help that other than to continue to make my product that I sell to them that hopefully will keep people going there. I certainly don't want to see bars go away. I love bars.
Yeah, no,
I love bars. Yeah, it'd be terrible. But yeah, no, I mean I understand that there's a certain existential threat to the tap rooms opening, and I'm sure that will be played out in Springfield between whoever the association of bar owners is versus the Craft Brewers Guild. But I think there's enough people, especially in Chicago, that like to drink that it's a big enough pond for everybody.
Yeah, you're not gonna run out of people.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I don't know if I heard that. What would diving into it? So it's restaurant owners are feeling threatened about independent breweries open their tap rooms.
More like bars. I mean, neighborhood bars are dying.
Yeah.
Certain beer bars are seem to be hanging in, but they're think of like a Beer Temple or a Bavarian Lodge or a Hop Leaf, or a Quenchers or a Hop Cat. There's another one, Map Room. There's one, Hop Cat closed, and there's another one that closed too. That was like a go-to.
Quenchers.
I mean, Quenchers.
Another one.
But those were Quenchers is like, I mean, he was just ready to retire. I mean, and then they also had, I mean, it was a great beer for years, or a great bar for years, but it's tough to find parking over there for sure.
I think also that whole area added like 12 bars.
Yeah.
So I mean, Revolution opened up around the corner, I guess, but I don't think it was just them that would cause it. Because
unlike Logan Arcade is like
Avenue,
you don't have to go
there's
across
like a million
Western
bars.
to get there,
Yeah, and all Milwaukee Avenue. I mean, there's tons of stuff there. So neighborhoods change.
And then like Hopleaf, or not Hopleaf, but Hopcat was just like, I think it was just a bad business model for Chicago. They wanted to have like a million taps. I don't know how many taps it was, but like anytime I go into a bar that's got more than at most 30, but really more than like 15 taps, and I know that means that like if there's 45 taps, I know that means that there's 30 old beers there, and it's not a in this world like that we exist in just immediately, and I don't know how long it'll last, but it's like what matters is is fresh, local, and always changing. And people are with beer promiscuous, right? Everybody's promiscuous about their beer. Yeah. Everybody wants everybody's just exploring and always trying to find new different stuff. And if you've got a million taps, that's too big of a boot to drag around with you, unfortunately.
You got to test it and know that it doesn't work. It's interesting though, because that's almost the top of like the beer trend, where it's just like, okay, well, let's just do everything, and then we'll appeal to everyone. It's like, nope, you got to niche to something.
My favorite, and whatever, my tastes are weird and I'm old, and so it doesn't really matter. But like my favorite bar in the world still is Spoiten Deuvel in Williamsburg, and it's like. They've got I think they've got maybe like nine taps, but it's like the best program beer you're ever gonna find anywhere, and it's like a very it's just a pastiche of different like chairs and tables, and nothing matches, and it just looks like randomly thrown together and like wildly underprogrammed, but like it's just the opposite of that. I mean, it's just this very, very comfortable, not trying too hard, not trying to be something that it's not, but they're very smart about the beer. They've got 9 great beers that are very hard to find anywhere else in the world, and then they've got a decent, very small, but very well programmed wine list. And it's like, to me, that's the best place in the world. It really is. It's like one of my favorite bars, and that I think is so much more valuable than having like 1,000 taps and a 15-pound cheeseburger, that'll eat you instead of you having to eat it,
Kill it on site.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
We good?
I think so.
All right.
You guys good? Do you want to talk about anything else?
I just got my reminder to Bitch Beast.
What's Pitch Beast?
It was supposed to be Pitch Yeast.
Well,
sounds like a new beer though, bitch.
My series a little learning impaired, or at least hearing impaired.
or is she?
Yeah.
Cheers, Brian.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks for doing it.
You finished his some.
I'm done, yeah.
All right. That
That's
wraps up this episode. You've been listening to 2 Beers and a podcast with Brad and Mike.
If you like what you've heard, be sure to do the liking, subscribing, and rating. If you have an idea for a topic and pairing, mention or message at 2BeersPod on Twitter or Instagram. And if you want to learn more about our video, web, and social media marketing services, message at 2BeersPod on Twitter.
Until next time, keep telling your stories.
Keep drinking, keep tweeting.
Cool. That was fun.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.